Skywarn, the National Weather Service, and you. What is your role in it, and what do we need to do? So with that, I'm turning it over to Mark and 5HZR.
Yay! Thank you. The cool thing, we went up to Claremore yesterday. Went up to the Green Country Ham Fest. Thank you, sir. And it was really cool to hear all the neat things that folks had heard about SCARs, because apparently a good meeting for Tulsa is 20 people, TARC and TRO at that point. So they're looking to try to do some stuff, and they've all chased our information, and we'd love to see them and get them involved with some more stuff. So if you hear some friends coming in from the Tulsa area, say hi. Today we're going to talk about ARES, Skywarn, NWS, and you. How many people here are ARES or Skywarn or weather related or a person? Okay, that's everybody. Great. We'll cover somebody here. ARES, there's a vocabulary list I'm going to talk about today in case I screw up and use some acronyms. Amateur Radio Emergency Service is ARES. That is a group of the Amateur Radio I get it wrong again. American Radio Relay League. I get that wrong every time, Gary. National Weather Service is NWS. Norman Emergency Response Team.
How long have you been an ARRL member, Mark?
1985, and I've been a life member since then. I should be able to get it right.
You should be.
I'm not very good at that. Norman Emergency Response Team is NERT. Oklahoma Medical Reserve Corps is OKMRC. Skywarn is a program to collect local data reports. It's kind of weird. There is no Skywarn entity, but it is a program. Everybody says, I want to join Skywarn, and then you don't join it. It's the program. Storm Prediction Center is our friends down here at the Weather Service, where they will do their predicting portion for our impending doom. Amateur Radio Emergency Service, ARES, is a group that I am the emergency coordinator for the Cleveland County area. Our friend Mark Conklin is the statewide manager. Let me say that all these slides are on the SCARS ARES page. The whole presentation is on that ARES page. So if you want stuff, you can go grab it now and keep ahead of me, or you can grab it later on if you go look at the ARES, Oklahoma, the SCARS ARES page. But ARES is a group of folks that work when all else fails. We talked about the Red Cross piece. The Amateur Radio Emergency Service is a big portion of that. The thing that we're going to be around when systems fail is a big help. Oklahoma's piece is at aresok.org. If you want more information there, it's the big confusion at this point. The national group has come up with something called ARES Connect. And anybody here heard about ARES Connect? Yeah. And the big problem is we in Oklahoma sent a file of 818 ARES members to National in October, and nothing's happened. Today, actually while we're here, John Stratton, the new
Division Director.
Thank you. The ARRL Division Director is meeting with Mark Conklin, and the goal is to try to figure out how we're going to move forward. What it appears to be is that we're going to flesh out our state website, which we've been working on, and try to make it compete with the national one, and we may end up hosting that here. That's something that John is working on. So for now, joining can be done on this aresok.org site. If you get involved or hear something about ARES Connect, it is not working. It is not there. It's not happening. There's like 4 of us that are on that website. There should be thousands. The good folks at ARRL did not think to get the domain aresconnect.org. However, I did. So that may encourage them to do something that might work better, since our link will do a lot better than their link. ARES numbers, total hams in Oklahoma, 9,801. This is Mark Conklin's numbers. He estimates 5,500 of those are active hams. The rest are people that are just sitting on their license, which is fine, but we'd like to get them more involved. Total registered in Oklahoma is 818. That was that file I said I sent up to HQ. And the most ARES members live along the I-44 corridor, just like most of us do. ARES training is brand new. Has anybody seen this coming through? Yeah, Gary. Anybody that reads the newsletters, I'm sure very familiar with it.
Oh, I'm sure they read them.
Exactly right. ARES has got some new levels of training pieces. For a long time, this number 2 level was the only one that they had, which was go get your FEMA certificates, 100, 200, 700, 800, and the EC01 course. They have added a piece at the beginning, which is entry level, and the idea is get involved locally and get your stuff started. So here that involves Monday, DMR net, Tuesday, 8 p.m. net that Phil just talked about, and we have a Sunday net that's on 80, I didn't mess up the frequencies, 80 and 40 meters. Where's my Bill Baker, 3,900?
Usually 3903, but 3,900 if they can get there.
And then 7260 if 40 meters ever starts working again. Right? Did they jump up to 40?
If possible.
If possible, they'll jump up to 40 on 7260. So that's how you can get involved at the lower end piece of that. The middle one, these are all online classes. If you go to ARES OK or the ARES Connect site, either one, you will see where the training is involved. These FEMA courses are free, and the fun thing is they are standardized. So when we have a disaster need here, the Red Cross trains on FEMA, the Galen's people's train on FEMA, David's people's train on FEMA. We all are going to be doing the same thing, and we know the same ideas and make sure we do it the same way. That's one thing, the biggest thing I found out was training people in a disaster is not the best time to do that training. It turns out to be a disaster. The ARES leadership portion, if you want to go on and do some more ARES leadership, they've now added level 2. And I will tell you that in putting this slide together, I learned that leaders have 1 year to complete this training. I don't have any of this stuff, so I gotta get busy, it looks like. These are advanced classes on managing larger people. Yeah, managing people, probably. Yeah, that's a good way to say it. This is on how the system works. This is on managing people to make that system work. So that additional piece is there. All of these classes are free. The ARRL has just relaunched their program. Instead of charging you a stupid amount of money, they have done it for free. Yes, John?
Most of these are only about 2 to 3 hours long when you take them. I've had just about every one of those courses up there, so they're not hard at all. It's very easy to pass.
There you go. In addition, there's some volunteer operations in Norman, the Norman Emergency Response Team. David Grizzle runs that. Those cats meet 3rd Thursday of the month.
Second Thursday.
Second Thursday, really?
Yeah.
So you
That's
missed
why there's no one
Wait,
here
last
to
Thursday.
show up.
Third Thursday.
No, it's because the Red Cross is 3rd, but I thought it was the same
Third
thing.
Thursday is Coloma.
Oh, okay.
You were here.
The first Thursday is testing.
I've lost my track of my schedule. Okay, that happens on a Thursday sometime, but it meets here 6:30ish to whenever you leave. Sometimes there's food, so that's always kind of neat to stop by and say hi. But if you want to get more involved with doing some emergency stuff, they do a lot of medieval fair kind of things where they put up people at medieval fair. David would love to have you go into that training course. Hazards in our area, we've worked all of these fun things. I don't know if anybody's got any more favorite things that they want to add, but fires, floods, bombings, tornadoes, train accidents, utility interruptions, and communication systems interruption. I see personally that we're going to run into a portion where utilities are going to be the big problem. We're going to run out of communications. AT&T or Verizon's going to shut down a router somewhere by some drunk system admin, and poof, how many people would just cease to exist if they lost their phone for 8 or 10 hours. You would be one of them?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Susan Moody down in Montauk County, N5YNC, they have that all the time. And it's part of one of the reasons, besides the fact they're both retired squids, that they became ham radio operators, because it'll go down for 3 days over there all the time.
Yeah, and I think some of us can manage that, and I think we're gonna have to be the ones to do it. I know a lot of our people that take the license want to get communications because a storm came through and knocked it out, and they couldn't find their mother or brother or sister or something. So I think it's a big piece that's gonna come out of the future. Clinton County ARES customers, the amateur emergency customers, so our people that we serve include the Weather Service, Norman, Moore, Newcastle, Cleveland County. Yes, there is a Cleveland County Emergency Service. George Malden Jr., George's dad ran it for a long time and he's now running it. And the American Red Cross are all what we call customers, people that we serve, actions that we do, serve some stuff for them.
Mark?
Yes, sir.
Can I add something to that?
Okay.
Back to that slide. Several of the EOCs around this area have Operation Secure radios that operate on HF that we need people to operate during an emergency. And Moore and Newcastle has these, and you know, I would like to have somebody, whenever the time comes that we need emergency communications, we can communicate. And it's not on ham frequencies, it's other than ham frequencies. We have our own license for these radios.
And we'll hit that here in a bit. But yeah, there's a lot of need for this. So we serve these groups. We do this typically by active nets when there's weather or an instance involved. Typically nets are open when a client requests one. David may call, somebody else may call, or when a net controller believes something should happen. And that's usually what happens, is that at one point a review of some weather sequence starts and one of us will jump in and start the weather. Usually 2 or 3 people are calling each other, you want to call the net, I want to call the net, and it starts up and becomes a directed net. At that point, the repeater, we typically run in 147.06, 146.88, and 443.7 are available. We typically run on those repeaters. We have net control liaisons at their houses. Used to run the net control here out of this room in this building, but it is chaos with a capital K. So we now run net controls outside of the room, and we do them from a net controls house. That way, if we have to switch net controls, you can do that all remotely. It has worked very well for the last couple of years. If you wish to be a net control, see Phil, sign up to one to be one. Yes, ma'am.
I know in the past, Mark, there's been a little confusion as to when does an emergency net start?
Yeah, we got that.
And who does that? Are you going to cover that?
Yep.
Okay.
Net liaisons travel, net control liaisons travel to their locations. So if we have a net call, that will go, the people will go to wherever they're supposed to be stationed, those pre-positioned people. Net control operators will manage the frequencies at that time. If you interrupt, you will get given instructions. If you jump onto the net and you're blissfully unaware of anything and give your call sign, depending on the situation, you may get your head ripped off or you may get a polite, sorry, there's a net in operation. Either way is not your fault. I understand. You turned on the radio, you didn't understand it. Don't take it personally. Pull back, say sorry, thanks, and sit and listen for a while before you figure out what's going on. So when that net control has that frequency, they need that frequency. They have people that are out in harm's way and they want to make sure they get their signals out somewhere else. Don't take it personally. Yes, sir.
Question, do we still have the ability to change the courtesy tone beat for a net?
We have that ability. We have not fleshed it out at this point. It
Okay.
will be eventually. The idea would be change a courtesy tone beat as the net operates. That is the next enhancement. where we go,
Half a
oh, half a dozen, we've got a half a dozen of us that are hooked up with the National Weather Service's messenger client that gives us direct access to the weather forecasters sitting in that office in, south of campus. So the neat thing is, when we get those information, you'll see a screen here shortly, but when we get that information, it comes to us the same time as it goes to the weather stations, which they ignore it, and now the Weather Service is calling them on that, which is kind of fun. But we actually have direct access to that stuff. So the best way to get a report in is to report to us. We'll talk about what should be reported here in a little bit. Typically for a start of a net, thunderstorm watches start to get some attention. You start to see some things happening. Tornado warnings in adjacent counties will start a net on operation. So if we have some warnings that are popping up around us, that will darn sure be a signal to get one going. It is, as Michelle said, it is flexible. There is no hard, fast rule because there is no hard, fast weather rule. There is no hard, fast rule on what may happen. It may be a semi-truck blew over. It may be my communications thing. The net controllers are tasked with starting it when they see fit. If they start it and have to go somewhere else, they'll call somebody and say, get on, take my job, or take my role, and I'll do it. But they will start up that net and make it happen. Moderate and high day 1 SPC items will keep the team busy.
Thank you.
We will push this forward in the next couple of slides to explain that one. Cleveland County ARES liaisons, Norman Emergency Operations Center is that little room, and we'll open it up and walk in there shortly if you wish to, that has the little window in it.
One at a time.
One at a time. Frisk them as they go in. Yeah, it's kind of small.
Yeah.
E, then O, then C in that.
Yes.
order.
Mm-hmm.
The EOC is manned by David Grizzle, and it's staffed by our liaisons, which are Don Parker, Bill Lockett, and Doug Forsyth, and others. But those are the three that are usually there. Lockett's usually there, and he is an award-winning EOC.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, he got an award. Him and Don both got awards. It was awesome. The Moore Emergency Center is operated by Galen Pitch and Debbie Winger. They are paid staff up at Moore. If you've not had a tour of that facility, it is well worth your time to go up there. Galen will be here next week with his trailer, with his truck. It is awesome.
Wagner, not Winger.
Oh, what did I type?
Oh, it's what you said.
Oh, A. Whatever. Wagner. Whatever. I'm Klein. I get spelled wrong all the time. So those two are staffed by that. Newcastle Emergency Operations Center is our own John Tankersley. And Steve in the back. John's looking for volunteers. See, I was taking care of you, sir. Steve's looking for volunteers. Yes, sir.
Just 4 letters.
Oh.
E-N-Z.
Oh, no T. Well, I'll take the T there and put it with the E.
Galen, too.
Did I really?
Yeah, you did.
No wonder he always argues with me. Oh, yeah, it is. That's my cousin. I got a cousin that's a doctor.
You say that about every time you spell it.
I got a cousin that's a doctor, and that's the only way I knew how to do
You
it. But
almost
he is a G-A-Y-L-A-N-D.
You almost got his last name right, too.
It's Moore. Yeah, Moore. Galen Moore. Yeah, you're right. I always do this wrong. My cousin, I like my cousin. It's the only Galen I've ever known. His nickname was Butch, so I don't know what that is. John is actively looking for volunteers to staff that facility. That's at the shelter in Newcastle. He's got a great setup over there. He can take 1,200 of his closest friends in a storm shelter operation. They got a great grant to go do that. If you want to practice or do something, he will be happy to let you in. It is really important to go learn how to do this stuff before a big thing happens. So if you're in that Newcastle area, get with John, and you're going to go volunteer. Rodney here will be happy. Randy here. Rodney here will take care.
Is that the Cleveland County Emergency Operations Center?
Oh, center. You're ahead. I've never had people read my slides.
Do you know where that is located?
This? Yeah, tell us.
It's located at the Cleveland County Health Department now.
What a strange bunch of bedfellows. Yes, the Cleveland County Health Department and the Cleveland County Emergency Management Century. I should read these more. I was actually typing some of these changes last night coming back from Claremore.
Yeah, blame it
At
on the
1:30
bumpy
in the morning,
turnpike.
I'm
Were you
sure.
driving?
typing.
No, I was not driving the time. Ed was my driver. That's why he's not here. We wiped him out. We didn't get back till 12:30 or something.
Wah.
Yeah, but no, it is the Century. Where'd it go? The Operations Center is managed by George Malton, who his dad back in the day, and we did a lot of stuff with that. National Weather Service forecasters monitor W5 OKC repeater in Oklahoma City, so if you want to hear the Weather Service on.
WX5, okay,
Yeah, what did I say?
W05.
Oh. X is a weird one for me. I don't know why that one comes up. WX5 OKC, that repeater, my voice shuts off, so I have to stay off that repeater. It's kind of fun. I get on there.
Where'd they get that filter?
I don't
Is
know.
that something we can?
They won't tell me.
Isn't that repeater in Moore?
No, it's in,
Crossroads.
yeah,
Crossroads?
Yeah.
Okay.
Still?
which could be more. But it's down, Deep Deuce or something is what I think it is.
I thought they moved it, yeah.
Yeah, deep, somewhere downtown. Very close to Anthony's.
It's a big tall tower.
Like,
145.41 is that repeater. Weather Service forecasters monitor that and their proprietary application, which is that messenger product that we go to. So our best activity is to put it on their chat system, because that gets instant access and we get feedback really, really quick. So if we put it there, I mean, John will jump in and say, we're opening the shelter, so we know when they're opening. And we're opening their, Moore will open up their stuff, so it makes it happen. We typically have a liaison, Phil, which is our Blanchard Bly lead spotter. He runs out there on his way home or to work or somewhere else. So we have some spotters that will go out. We don't really request many, but our goal is to spot from place. But
Isn't WX5 OKC also the lead for the Sierra network?
does that hook to Sierra, guys?
they do,
They can at sometimes, but I don't know if they'll. Sierra is the link network system for the Southwest, like Lawton and that kind of deal. We're looking to add, I'm pushing it out on DMR that as we try things, to use 3140, 31400, or 3140010, as the DMR talk group for that kind of thing as we're moving forward. Here's the 9,801 hams and their locations in the state. Talked about earlier that the big chunk of them are here in the middle. We are county number 3. Oklahoma County, Tulsa County are numbers 1 and 2, and we have over 1,000 hams registered in the Cleveland County area.
Could you point mine out up there? I'm not seeing it.
Right
I see it. There I am.
on top of the pile.
Yeah, right next to the leader. I see it.
This is a Google map that we can use and search down to the areas to find people in the affected areas. My comment earlier is we're not looking for storm spotters to go out and run around the place to go look at it. We usually have a front door which is filled, and then the rest is all spot in place. If we zoom in and go look for Harold, this is the Cleveland County area, northern Cleveland County area, of the folks in the county. So as you can see, we've got a ton of people that are in spot already in the area where they're supposed to be. If we tap each one of these little icons, it brings up who the name is, or the call sign is, and then we'll go and run them. I know that during NETS, we've had a lot of stuff where we'll get a call from a client that says, we need 36 in Tecumseh now. I'll pull up, grab an address, and Aubrey was one of them that came into mind, and he said, we pulled up that place, and Aubrey just said, yeah, a big tree just went by. And then we'll do some things like, we had to clear Highway 9 to make sure it was in clear spot, so we can find people in the right spot. So we typically use these. These are the entire ham pool. We have, out of that ham pool, we have trained spotters that are assigned. A, you've had the proper FEMA training. B, you've attained National Weather Service training last year or previous years. Raise your hand if you've done that. Last year or previous year.
What, NWS?
Yeah. You've heard of the NWS, right?
Yeah.
Good, so that's this year and last year. If you have attended one, feel free to send me what your last attendance date. We'll put that on file for your documentation. And that ARES training is available on the web at w5nor.org/ARES train. You can go see what all of us have trained. It's a shared file area that sees all the documentations there. So if your documentation is not there when you send that, please send it to me and update your documentation. So that
How do we
can-
know whether you actually got it or not? Do you have a list?
Right there.
Okay, so that's where it's at.
Right there. If you go there, you'll see your call sign and then the stuff that's there. And if it's not there, if you go look at Don Parker's, he's got thousands of them. I don't know where that guy trains. He's got tons of stuff. Back to our point of we use a spot in place technique. The idea is keep people there. We don't want to put people in harm's way. We've got way too many people that are out running around doing things they shouldn't, and we don't want to be one of those. Our trained spotters are what we call first tier responders during nets. So if you're one of the people that we know have had the training, you've had the NWS stuff, you're going to be the first one we call on. Many years ago, Jerry, anybody remember W5MCJ? Jerry Brody? Yeah.
Yeah.
Every storm, he would call out, there's a tornado over Westbrook Terrace. Every time a storm went by. And it didn't matter if it was nothing or something. And I have had to explain to more city of Norman mayors, that is not a tornado, that's Jerry. We don't count that one. We'll send somebody else over if you really think it's a problem, but it's not right. Jerry saw everything that moved was a tornado. So we tend to believe people on the scale from Jerry to a trained spotter. When we turn these reports into the Weather Service, we always state where that stuff came from. So if it was from an NWS trained spotter, we state NWS trained spotter reports the following. And if it's not a trained spotter, we report it as we have an amateur radio report to make them aware of the difference. We relay that through the messenger to do it. Tier 2 are the reliable sources is probably a good way. Usual suspects. These are going to be our Tier 2 folks, and these are folks that don't have the training, but we know they're not Jerry Brody. We know they're reliable and they're going to do all that kind of stuff. They're used typically to report damage conditions as storms move through. Typically, we get a request that David will say, I have a report, a citizen report, that there's stuff all over the road at this location. We pull up the guy, whoever's near it, and we go grab him and say, hey, can you go look at this road and tell me if there's a problem? Hopefully, that's all of you. Oh, thanks. I love this set. Oh. Hopefully, that's all of you in this room. So if you're there, ready to go, we'd love to have you. Want to make that happen. Talk a little bit about storm chaser versus storm spotter. Storm chasers are usually the lone wolf people that are out there for the thrill of the chase and for the entertainment. Storm spotters are usually working with ARES groups or local emergency folks, working with other folks. There is a spotter network group, spotternetwork.com, which issues spotter numbers. Anybody here have a spotter number?
Long time ago.
Long time ago. There used to be a deal where the Weather Service would take that number and that would ID you. For instance, my number is 52709. I have never used that spotter number. You have to go do some little training when you go log in there. It really doesn't get you anything. Those chaser folks are really big into those numbers because that kind of identifies them. We as a ham community use our call signs. I mean, that's us. You know, when I give a call sign out that says, you know, W5HLG says, we know how we can go back and find that guy and we can take it for what it's worth. I've never used that spotter number directly, putting it in for myself. Storm spotters never self-deploy. We're always working with groups like ARES, and that self-deploy thing is getting so huge because of that. That truck is a $125 million lawsuit against the Weather Channel. This cat was live streaming. Anybody know this case out of Texas? Yeah. This cat was live streaming while he hit that deal, lost his life, killed 2 in this truck and 1 in another vehicle, T-boning. The family is suing the Weather Channel for $125 million. Sounds silly until you realize they have footage of him
Because he was streaming.
as he was streaming. It was their 4th violation. Violation means going through a red light or a red stop sign without slowing down or stopping. Somebody in the right front seat was saying, "Clear!" And they hit this dude T-boned and killed all 3 of them. They went back, and there's 273 videos that this guy had posted on YouTube. And I'm sure it was the plaintiff's attorneys, I don't know for a fact, looked at 14 of the videos that he had posted, and they'd stopped because they were done with it. 14 videos had 80 stop sign violations and 5 red light violations.
Usually at high speed.
Yeah. And this is what my CPA at my office says, this is when documentation turns into evidence. But yeah, he was streaming it all over the place. Now, the bad thing is, Weather Channel had a second spotter that had reported this guy 4 months before,
And
and they ignored it, because something. Weather Channel called that spotter who was on this site and said, "Hey, can you get the cameras out of that truck before the police get there?"
No,
Oh my gosh.
sorry.
So plaintiff's attorneys are gonna make some money, is my guess on this deal. But this is typically that weather chaser guy. If you haven't watched the stuff, I'll show you an image or a piece here shortly. There are a ton of people out there doing that stuff, everywhere from vacation people that are running around in 15-passenger vans that are unstable as heck anyway. And you look up and all you see, Gary did a lot of that stuff for a pay, that he had to do it, and the road was clogged, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Biggest part of the tornado problem. Tornadoes by month, Weather Service had to put this out here recently for us. We have what we call tornado season. You can see April, May, and June is definitely our busy season, but they're always around. They're in every state, they're in every month. Don't get lulled into nothing ever gonna happen. We've seen them here all the time. Time of day. I always think this is nice because it lets those of us that are still working get a pretty good full day in.
Yeah, but it's this overtime in the emergency management department.
Yeah, we're volunteers, we don't get paid, see, we don't have to. But no, it's typically starts to crank up as this heat from the day turns into some bad stuff. This is Oklahoma's data out of that piece. NWS has got some new things that they're really doing. A friend of mine, Lance Rothfuss, just retired, but he was working on a long time stuff to come up with some newer things. This is one that's called an alert. So for emergency managers and media people, we can sign up and you draw a little deal on the screen, or you can say, "I want Cleveland counties," and it will send you an email or a text. In my case, it's both, and it will wake you up more often than you want to be woken up. But it does give you some proactive stuff. It has a bunch of neat topics. You have severe weather, winter weather, hydrology, critical hazards, aviation problems, civil emergencies. So they've fleshed it out to be for more than just weather purposes. It's really an emergency matter. It is experimental is what they call it. I don't know what that means as far as Weather Service folks go. It means it's not funded for next year. I have no idea. Emergency manager updates. Every Monday at 10 o'clock there's usually a conference call that I'm sure John is on and others where we get updates on what's going to happen for the upcoming week. Some of the times it's blue sky, see you later. That's all the phone call is. Sometimes it's an hour-long presentation where they go into actual details. That weather, that storm emergency, that snow thing that happened last December where Armageddon or nothing was, half a dozen. They were on that call for an hour saying, "We don't know. It's very close. It can go either way." And it was a great call to hear. They don't know. They do the best they can. Storm Prediction Center, SPC, is down out of National Weather Center. They predict weathers and watches for the entire country, not just us, our area. They have the following colored things because they think we're not too smart, and I think they're right. And they want to compete with TV stations, I think is the big thing. Big pieces here, they have day 1, day 2, day 3, and then days 4 through 8. So they have, you can see what today's piece is, and then you can see what the next day's is and the next day's. Today's is a lot more firm than tomorrow's is. And it's a lot more firm than the future ones are. They're getting a lot better on those as they move forward. In this part, high and moderate is one that I said on an earlier slide, that's what gets our attention to make them happen. The Storm Prediction Center uses math to convert to English. So they have the day 1 probability, let's say it's 2%. On a tornado deal, that we'll call that marginal. So those words actually mean something. Then when they go up to the high colors, that's 30% with significant severe possibilities. So if you look at those numbers, those DEFCON numbers, they actually can go back and correlate and say, okay, if I see high, that means I'm going to at a 30% range. Same with hail and wind, they have different scales, but that's how they put them together. So they take their stuff for it. Our friends at Brahms have adjusted that, and they have the go ahead and make my day, which is the worst one for them. And the bottom one is I'm just here for the ice cream, so it's not very bad on the day 5. Killer tornadoes in Oklahoma, these go back to 99. The storm prediction people are really happy with, the heck? Storm prediction people are really happy that those storms happened on days that they picked they would happen. So the very top 2 categories have been all of the storms with the exception of this one guy, this May 9th, 2016. That was one that snuck in on them. So they're showing how those actually relate to real events. Emergency Manager Media, this is the piece that we go back and forth with. Typically, it's kind of fun if you log in. It says here 135 people are logged in. On a blue sky day, there are about 30 or 40 of us that are logged into that at any one time. On severe days, it goes up to 150 to 200 people that are actually in that area. This yellow piece comes from the National Weather Service. Meteorologist in charge, Mick. It comes from their account, so you can always see what is coming from them and from other people. So this gives you a whole verbal piece that comes out that typically doesn't make it on the news because it's not very sexy. But, you know, the news guys turned into gloom and doom, watch channel 4, 5, and 9, or you will die. This is what the Weather Service puts out. We're allowed to send messages to them and ask them a question or provide feedback. So if you're on the net and you have some specific needs, feel free to talk. We will happily pass those along. They are very respectful of all of the feedback we put in there and very happy to see it. They give us, for that, they give us this advanced stuff. You'll usually see something that says, we're about to issue a tornado warning in Cleveland County. And sometimes they'll say, anybody have a problem with that? Or they'll ask for feedback if they're not certain to see if we have some stuff. A good place to chase some weather, of course, is the SCARS page is a good place to start, w5nor.org/weather. We link to the official stuff, spc.noaa.gov.
On that last slide, if you want to talk to one of the individuals individually, you can use that to talk to other individuals
Right.
in the discussions group.
So you can go over and hit your favorite newscaster over here for KOFAR, KCO.
Or ham or whatever.
I usually send a snotty message to Gary if I see him on, that kind of thing.
I don't know if you're going to cover it, but there's an intermediate product between the outlooks and the warnings, and that's the watches, tornado watches, that the SPC puts out. And they don't have a lot of different categories there, but they do have something called a PDS watch, which is a particularly dangerous situation.
I love that one. I don't know why.
Pretty darn scary.
So they'll come out hopefully before the warnings do. And they pinpoint there is more than the outlooks in some cases, not always.
There are committees that are working now with the National Weather Service that are updating or upgrading all this information that you're putting out here. So it's a dynamic situation that's going on all the time.
Yeah. I've been doing this since '85, and my gosh, we used to stand in the severe storm slab building over here, shoulder to shoulder, and oh, it would stink. And there were a lot of people in that building. Now you can just pull it up and watch the stuff happen, and it's going to change. This is current as of this season. That's the stuff from Weather Service. So those two are good places to go look. If you go look on the our page, you will see what's happening. Those different colors show up on that piece. SPC updates their schedules. Day 1 is updated 5 times a day at these times. So the Storm Prediction Center does something 5 times a day on that day 1 piece. Day 2, they don't do it as often. And day 3, they don't do it as often. So that gets you an idea of how they're thinking. Is they're more active on the current stuff, which thank God, I'm loving them for that. General warning philosophy coming from the National Weather Service. This is coming from the RICS document. Their default warning is 45 minutes. If they blow it, they're going to say it's going to be up for 45 minutes on these things. Their goal is to do the warnings as small as possible to cover the storms. They're not going to say Western Oklahoma and then go get their coffee. They're going to make that as tight as they can. You will see that warning polygons may overlap at times. They may have those warning squares that will overlap because this one starts here and the next one takes over and the next one takes over. And as general people go, that's not a big deal. That means you may be under 2 or 3 different watches or warnings at any time, but that's why they're leapfrogging to the next one. What that causes problems is good old City of Norman put in some software that does the automatic sirens, and it triggered. Yeah, Peter's doing thumbs up. Except it fired 5 times in 12 minutes or whatever that number was, because they kept putting all these polygons on top of each other, and the computer would dutifully put the sirens off, and that aggravated a few people.
Weather radio does that also.
Yeah, weather radio does the same thing. Exactly right. So that's the thing, you just got to watch out on those things. NWS reporting criteria, this again has changed way big time over the years. Used to be, hail, especially 1 inch, quarter size or larger. We'll typically just drop a hail at such and such place. No marbles, people, get out of that. I still hear that. Last storm we had some marbles, and it makes me laugh, but we can't report anything that comes in at that because I don't know how big your marble is. I've lost all mine.
Yes.
Many years ago.
Winds measured or estimated at 60 miles per hour or higher. So if you don't know what 60 miles an hour or higher feels like, keep watching for the next wind that comes through that's 60 miles an hour and get a feel for what that may be. Any damage caused by wind or hail. Used to be actions like hail used to be more important. Now they're looking for damage, and damage shows that there's some stuff happening.
So, last year when I was going down the road trying to get home and beat the storm home and the poles were coming down behind me, I should have gone on and reported that.
Yeah, that would be good. When you see poles, power poles falling on top of you, that is a good, yeah, that's right, you have a great picture. Power poles damage, anything that's caused by wind or hail, that's an indication of something that happened that's in excess of 60 miles an hour. Flooding, their big thing is hydrology now they're pushing on. Those of you that live on Lake McGee, it's fixed, right? Fixed?
Well, our side is fixed.
Your side is fixed, okay.
South of Lynch is fixed.
North side has got a problem. But water, we get a lot of water stuff with water barricades. They look for that as a sign of
People
information.
with cars stuck in between the 2 poles that came down.
Yeah, cars stuck between the 2 poles that came down would be something to report. Yeah, make sure that you're not connected to the power line before you grab that microphone, but yes, that's good. During the storm, reports on tornado, wall cloud funnel, or tornado. First or this is wording, this is Rick's wording, not mine. First or second reports from a trusted source. That's why we state NWS trained spotter reports, so they know that this guy's been to a training class that they've offered, and they have that information. They're very, they don't want somebody to get on the chat that says, Channel 9 just said. Details when, where, and the viewing location. We get a lot of feedback from the Weather Service after the event that they say, hey, you posted, we had something that posted rotation at a certain point, and it didn't show up on the radars at the time. Well, I got a call the next day and said, who reported that? Can I talk to them? And yeah, let me go look at my log, and I got the two together, and they had some stuff that came up so fast it wasn't in their piece. And even after the storm, they'll come chase that stuff down. And any damage, back to the damage piece. You don't have to see the wind if you see the damage. After the storm.
One of the things about that radar, they might not see it at the National Weather Service because the radar sweeps about every 4 minutes, 4 to 6 minutes. So if it spins up and goes down real quick and the spotter sees it, then they need to make sure that they tell what it was, how long it lasted, and where it was, and the time. That way the National Weather Service can go back and get that information logged into their computer.
Yep. After the storm, they're looking for severe damage. This helps them go classify what's actually happened. And we've turned in lots of after the storm pieces and helped them out in that piece. Maping. Anybody here got Maping on their phone? Whoa. I figured there'd be more than that.
Is the PI not here today?
No.
Pings and phones.
Our good friend Kim Elmore,
N50P.
N50P, runs this program called MPing. And the idea is you put this, download this on your phone, it's free, it costs you nothing, but you can go ahead and report directly to their automated system, and it makes really cool maps. If you go to the MPing website that's listed up there, they have a deal that says, show me the maps, and in real time, you can watch what's happening from all these people that go in. Peter, you happen to know how many are involved? I mean, what the end size of people that are running that app? Is that? How many people are using the app nationwide?
Users? Oh, I have no idea. It's in the hundreds of thousands, though.
Oof.
Yeah, I mean, it's crowdsourcing weather data.
Yep.
And not just
Waves
tornado.
for storms?
Yeah, it's exactly like waves for storms.
Yeah, and it's not limited to tornado-related stuff. You can put snow, you can put rain, you can put fog, you can put all the different things.
And it's a good place to go look at conditions if you just want to go look at that map. It's kind of fun to go look at. It is an OU site, which is kind of cool being here in town, but it is both platforms have that. And if you don't have it on your phone, I would say put it on today, and the next time
It took seconds to download.
yeah, it's nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's mindless. It's
Because
just
there's no ads in it, so.
that's and it picks location. It knows where your location is. It knows date. It knows time, and you're off and running. So that's something you should do. Great.
There is actually the guy that wrote the original app was a ham as well. If you click on the I button for information on the main screen, there's a whole long explanation of the whole program. So
Cool.
please go get it.
This is the emptying display. If you go on, this was from last night. I dropped this in there. Wanted to get to something current for fun. This is, if you look at emptying.ou.edu/display is where it actually goes to. So that's our good friends here at OU. And these are all little happy indicators that are people that have put stuff up. These tickled my fancy last night.
Could be ice.
Could be snowing. Oh my God, no. And that's literally running 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So if you want to check on your friends up north or northwest or southeast or wherever, that little piece is out there. If you've got other friends that are weather aware, you got it? There you go. If you're weather...
Folks, Dallas is lit up.
Is it?
I got tornado warning right now.
Oh, really? Tornado warning down there? So, Dallas says that is like it's lit up right now, good for them. And you can go find that kind of stuff. It's a good thing to chase. What else you want to do if you want to get involved? This is a U part.
This is the
If you want to do your own live weather radar stuff, I personally like the bigger screens and the Windows Gibson Level 3 stuff. This is on the weather page that we have, the SCARS weather page. It's about $80 for the stuff. They get the data from the Weather Service, and they just dump it on your screen. And it gives you all kinds of neat little weather products, and it pops them all up on the screen at once. Android's got radar scope and my radars. Anybody else have a favorite one that they love to share?
It's ad supported, but for iOS devices, Storm Radar is pretty nice.
Storm Radar
And it's free.
It is free. Oh, yeah. For the iOS stuff, these are about $4 or $5 each. And I guess Storm.
Well, Radar Scope is a little more than $4 or $5.
Oh, it's annual. That's an annual.
Yeah, it's an annual.
But that's where if you're a real chaser, you get on there and you get your little dot put on the screen, and you can see where you're at, kind of thing. Lightning maps. Anybody here do lightningmaps.org besides Gary? Oh, good. Not very good. These larger dots are the more recent ones, and the cool thing is it will put out a little echo that goes with it to show you where the thunder is coming. And if it's more than a mile away from you, you will see the dot on your screen before you hear the thunder. And it took the longest time for me to figure that. It was like, whoa, it can't be. But it is that fast. That system is that fast. Ellie, do you know OU's got one down there. Do you know anything about that one?
Which one?
The receiver for this, the Blincher tongue?
No.
I just can't find anybody who knows who owns that one. There's a receiver on the Weather Center, but nobody will admit to owning it. And that receiver picks up that signal, and they have to get.
5PF was doing it for a while, but I don't know if he still is.
I don't know.
He thinks he knows.
Oh, do
He
you?
thinks he knows. No. He's got a theory.
Okay.
He's gonna flush it out.
But it comes there. I was wanting to put one in my house, and then they've got one at the Weather Center. So
The more the merrier.
9 stations across the world have to converge that data before they will put this dot on the screen. So 9 different receivers have heard the data, converged the time, and then it will show up on this screen here. And literally, you will hear.
Pretty cool.
You will hear you will see it on your screen before you hear the thunder, unless it's in your backyard. And I will tell you that it's accurate enough to know that sitting in my house, I have windows on all 4 walls in my living room. Sitting in my house, the dot, I can see the lightning out of which window, and it will match where that dot is exactly. So it's literally, and I've had them strike within a 200-foot radius of the house. So literally. Yeah, literally. Literally. So you can watch that stuff come up and go away. It's a very, very good place. This is for Mr. Skaggs.
Yes.
Yeah, please.
I saw this on I saw something come out of Tulsa Weather Channel the other day that said lightning, lightning. So lightning is when you go, lighting is when you get lit, and lightning is when you may die. Are you ready is the big thing. Yes, sir, John?
The insurance companies will use that map also. If you make a claim, they'll actually look.
Very good point. Denny did this, I think, didn't you? They had to go do a dot on the map for your lightning damage.
I don't know if they did or not.
Oh, okay. I thought there was that story. I know I've used that in a couple stories with some work-related stuff that was damaged that we had to have an insurance carrier. We had to prove that there was lightning in the area, and you can go back on this stuff in back times. I don't know if you can on lightningmaps.org, but you can go back and there's an online site. You can pay them $20 or whatever it is, and they will tell you where the lightning was at that time. Lightning. Are you ready? Is the big thing. QRV is the Q code for that. How many of us have battery powered radios? How many of us always keep them charged? Oh, good. How many of us have a charged phone at all times? No. How many of us have a spare battery there that you can plug into the phone? There you go. Medicines? if your house blows away, you have something you carry to make sure you do that kind of stuff?
Do you have an extra battery for your HF radio?
Yeah, that good point here, store some medicine in your storm shelter. That's
I
right.
have plenty of spare batteries for anyone.
Yes, yes, Harold's got some batteries.
Cases. Go bags. Go bag.
Water is a biggie. We live out in the country, so when we first see a storm come through, my wife or I will turn on the water and fill the bathtubs, because we've got critters to feed and we've got toilets that may need flushing, because as soon as the power goes away, we're out of power, out of water. So we will actually fill that. We have gallons of water stored in case there's an issue. You've got 8 acres. I've got water that I don't want to drink out of my pond.
Well, you get a
If you got
generator.
a pond, you can use that water for all kinds of stuff, even for drinking if you know how to take care of it.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. I'm going to keep it in a bottle. I've done that. Grew up on a farm. The well was 15 foot deep, 15 feet away from the cow lot.
Right.
At that time, it didn't really seem too bad. Now, I'm not sure that was the best thing to do. Go bags. How many have a go bag here? So you grab it and out you go. How many of you had a go box here that takes your radios and all that stuff here? If you need some help on this, we got that on the website for both of those. Our friend Lee has done a lot of work on documenting that stuff, and we did a big deal on the DMR net to make that happen. I put Victor here, first of all, because I've never seen Victor at a meeting this year, so I thought he'd at least show up. So he's here. Second thing is, these little antennas that we put together are really good to have spare running around the house. I've got one that's plugged in for my DMR net stuff, so it's always up and running, so I can always grab it. If you unplug all your antennas like Thor Jr. here, Mr. Skaggs always tells you to do, these kind of things will help you stay on the net and stay active when trouble happens.
Are those dual band?
These are dual band. I use mine on the DMR, and I think I remember saying it was 9 or 10 dB over rubber ducky is what I was getting on the DMR side of that for UHF. So yes, and it works great. We have something called Elmer Night that every Tuesday you can bring your antenna to. We built one. Mike just built his last Tuesday, so he's ready. Don't be this guy. Don't be the guy that pillaged the shelf before. And this one kills me. Why are you buying milk right before you may lose power?
So that you can go to the OG&E people and yell at them 14 days later and try and run them over with your car.
Oh, okay.
Oh, well,
Oh, you can do that?
I thought there
I didn't know that.
I didn't know there was a reason. Really? That one always killed me. So you go in there pulling out gallons of milk. You know, that's going to go bad as soon or ice cream. Why is it ice cream? I don't get it. Priorities. Have food on hand that won't go bad. I grew up in Wisconsin, and Mr. Winkle over there probably do the same thing. We had 30 days worth of food in the house all the time because you may be snowed in and you can't get there. You know, soups and breads and got peanut butter was always my favorite. We'd get in real big trouble and you just wipe out the big tubs of peanut butter that you had. And then, okay, you get real food after that happened. But this always just blows my mind.
Well, how many people keep big coolers or ice packs that are frozen?
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that we do, especially because I make my husband's lunches every day because they never know where they're going to be, is we freeze bottles of water.
Yeah.
And then we use that to keep things cool, in particular his lunch.
He'll put pond water in that, so be careful.
Yeah.
Hey, I know how to take care of the pond water, but it's not going to have the feces and stuff in it that you're
No,
talking
no
about.
feces.
I got a straw that you would like.
My pond water has little things doing this, swimming in it whenever you look at it in a microscope.
Mark, I would suggest you can go online and get either Wise or Mountain House.
Mountain Dew?
Mountain House.
Oh, Mountain Dew?
Hey, have you seen this room? Have
Well,
you seen the salt content in them?
So,
hey,
All right,
this-
getting off track here.
These type of things,
Grab it.
30-year shelf life. You can get tubs of it. You can get enough to last you for.
Just take water out of the tap, put it in a jug. Put a little bleach in it, you're done.
There
You're
you
good.
Okay.
Big thing, how can you stay involved? Keep watching your weather. Doesn't matter if you're inside, outside, wherever you're at, keep doing it. Watch the Storm Prediction Center. We're at this piece for the stuff in advance. Be careful how you watch TV. And this amazed me in this last cycle. Even the National Weather Service is calling out the chuckleheads on the channels.
The sky is falling, the sky is falling.
I mean, literally, yeah, not a good thing.
That was a big problem during the big tornado when they were telling people.
Drive south.
Clogging the roads.
Yep. Always have a safe location planned out. Gary's got a good thing on his selfie day. Who's got it planned out where they're going to be? Right now, where would you go if this place was a tornado? Right now, where would you go?
That closet over
That room?
Back to sleep.
I'd go in that room, the center of the building, center mass. And the problem is, we're not going to fit in there. We
You
got
know, it's more than that though. You have to think, how many people here have underground shelters at their house? Okay, how many people have a come-along in that shelter so that in case something falls on top of it, you can open the door? How many people have gloves and different things that when you get out?
How many have vodka?
Come along inside.
You get onto the other end and you can come along and open it.
Depends how your door is done. Is the door inside or outside?
I mean, truly,
Your
that's
mileage
what
may
it is.
vary.
One thing I hate is the in the garage underground shelters, because they're in the garage.
No.
If the house collapses, it's going to collapse on top of it.
Come along.
If you have a car parked on top of it, how are you going to get into it?
You don't care. You got that vodka bottle I was talking about. Come get me.
If the water leaks, is it going to go into the shelter? If there's gas and it explodes or your house catches on fire, are you cooked? You know, I hate those things. I would rather have something.
I'd rather be standing out in this field than be an underground shelter. No, wait.
No. Safe room or an outside the house type shelter is the best.
Outhouse, yeah, I'll sit in the outhouse. I've done that
Yeah,
before.
that's okay, I'll still take my underground one.
Yep, me too.
Listen to 14506, 147, I was going to 541. 14706 to take a listen there. Again, listen before you talk to stop the, oh my God, I just interrupted the net story. And online, w5nor.org/listen, as long as I have power at my house. Watch your weather sources. Make sure you have 3 different ways to get it, none of them that involve a TV channel. I mean, 3 good sources of weather. Computers, phones, tablets, hieroglyphics, whatever you end up doing. Get imping and use it to report what you see. That will make Kim Elmore very happy if we all sign up for that piece.
Free.
It's free. With that, we're done for the day. I appreciate it. Any other questions? You had a ton of them, but any other questions or comments? John?
In Dallas County, we have something we made called the Cloud Cowboy Reference Manual. It's a really good manual for a lot of weather-related stuff if you want to look it up. CCRN 19 or something like that.
Cloud Cowboy Reference Manual.